Hey everybody, it's me, Jose Segura, your SMEA president. Welcome to another episode of Fireside Chat with the President. That's right, episode 53, I think it is. So yeah, quite a few of them we have going on now. All right, let's get to it. Four things in this chat, right? The first one is going to be, there's a lot of questions about the accommodations and the workplace changes documents. So we'll briefly touch on that. The next thing we're talking about is report time. We've got a lot of questions about report time on Monday because, well, there's been a lot of things going on about that. Next thing is going to talk about Zoom time, right? How much time, Zoom time, and then office hours, which has come up often in the last 3 days. So let's get started. First of all, your accommodations or your request for workplace location change. Majority of you have gotten these documents completed and submitted back to HR, which is awesome, awesome, awesome. I know there's a lot of you who have made these requests for different reasons, and just so you want you to know that HR is processing all of these. And so those of you who got the ADA version of the form and you're asked to provide some additional information, and you were told that there were going to be meetings set up throughout this week, well, it's already Friday, right? Through the weekend into the first part of next week. Just want you to know that your site administrators have been notified that you are going to be allowed to work remotely from home on Monday or Tuesday or next week while the remainder of your requests are being processed and these meetings are scheduled and attended. And so just want you to take a deep breath on that, all right? The next thing, let's talk about report time. There was a lot of hullabaloo emails going around from different site administrators about a variety of different report times, most of it around this idea that our report time is 8 a.m. and that many site administrators were directing members to arrive to work early, some as early as 7:15 in the morning, in order to get through the site health screenings. Now, first thing I want to say is every human who enters a school campus absolutely needs to go through a health screening, whether that's having your temperature checked, but it also means making sure that you can answer no to the health screening questions about symptoms that have been associated with COVID. And so that is a non-negotiable. Everybody has to go through a health screening first thing in the morning. All right. It's about the report time. So we had a nice conversation today. Jonathan B.A. and I met with Bijou Beltran, Matt Beecher, and Melissa Dutra. And they understood our concerns. They also understand the document, the MOU that was negotiated. And so here's what they agreed to do. They're pushing back the start of Monday's PD to 8:15. They absolutely understand that your report time is 8 a.m. and nobody's going to require you to be on campus before that. But I'm going to encourage you, they're going to encourage you, and hopefully your site administrator encourages you to show up a little bit early if you can to make sure you can get through the health screening process in a reasonable and controlled manner. So those of us who don't like standing in lines, we really want to make sure that the screening process is as safe as possible for us. Might want to consider showing up a little bit early on Monday to make sure you can get through the health screening in a reasonable amount of time. This is going to be the first for all of our school sites to go through this process with an entire teaching staff. And so, expect that there will be some minor hiccups, hopefully minor, right, from site to site. But your report time absolutely is 8 a.m. The PD itself, the professional learning, has been moved to 8:15 as a start time. And I am encouraging you, district is going to encourage you, if possible, to arrive a little earlier to get yourself through that process so you're not rushed, you're not stressed. You can get through, in a calm manner. You can wave hello to a few people if you can recognize them from that, right? And then get into your room, turn the lights on, plug your computer in, get yourself set up for that PL. So that's across the board, all grade levels, all sites. So there's that. There have been some concerns about schedules that are coming out that appear to modify the workday. For example, some folks starting as early as 7:55 with instruction. Well, just so you know, schedules across our district, across all of our sites, need to be approved by Melissa Dutra and through her department. And so whatever is being promoted at your site probably has not been finalized, probably has not been approved. And so Ms. Dutra was very specific with us today that All those schedules need to come to her. She's going to be looking not only for the content of the schedule and making sure that all of the students' needs are met, but also that the schedule itself complies with the agreement that we have with the district and that they have with us. All right. So a lot of documents that are works in progress. And so I really want to emphasize that with you. And I really want to emphasize that the district, folks like Ms. Dutra and Ms. Beltran, are fully aware that that's what's happening and that they will be on it. And so I really want to emphasize that we feel comfortable with that. Mr. BA and I, Jonathan and I, both feel comfortable with our conversation with them today. And we really feel like not only do they have the best interests of our students and our staff, but they also are fully prepared to adhere to the agreement that they entered into. All right, so that takes us from that to Zoom time. Getting emails and stuff from folks who are, again, getting schedules from their site administrators who have them performing synchronous instruction throughout the entire instructional day. Some as many as 180 minutes if you're a TKK, or up to 240 minutes, right, or 240 minutes if you're a 1st through 8th grade. And again, this is something that the district, at least with Ms. Dutra and Ms. Beltran, fully agree that the intent was never to have teachers fully engage in fully synchronous instruction throughout the entirety of a day, especially with like our younger kids. There are multiple methods for communicating and educating students that are within the AB 77 Trader Bill language that still complies with the need for live instruction. There are variations to what live instruction includes. Some of that is outlined in our MOU, which many of you have read. And so the district is fully prepared to comply with that as well. And so I want you to be aware that at no point during this whole bargaining process did the district's team ever determine or believe or even want for our members, any of our teachers, to be fully synchronous throughout the entire instructional day, from kinder or from preschool all the way to 8th grade and everybody in between. And so that's going to be part of that tweaking of site schedules and approval of site schedules to make sure that there's adherence to our agreement. The next thing is office hours. And again, this goes back to scheduling, right? Junior high, especially, we've heard from you all where your office hours are scheduled times. You have a assigned student. There's going to be things like taking roll. We had a really great conversation today with the district about that, about, what's the justification, the need for that. We get it. The state requires us to take a roll every day. The state is really going to require that during this distance learning period that we are accountable to our students and accountable to our community for instruction. Totally get it. Makes sense. Appreciate that that's something in there that the state is requiring us to do, because I think even if they were not requiring, it's something I think we want to do, right? We want to make sure that we can account for our kids and that when our students don't show up, that there's a mechanism in place for tracking those kids down and making sure that they have access to the educational experience that they are entitled to. But does that mean that we're taking roll 5, 6, 7 times a day? Probably not. And so again, this goes back to what I said earlier, is that all these schedules need to be approved by Ms. Dutra and her folks, and that hasn't happened yet. So these are works in progress, right? We talk about things like office hours. Office hours were never meant to be structured periods of the day with students specifically assigned, with taking the roll. That feels a lot more like a class, right? Office hours are really about having an opportunity to engage with students, to have conversations about, where they need help or what's missing, for us to engage with students who we really feel like they need me to reach out. It's also an opportunity to connect with our parents, because that's actually part of the AB 77 language, is that there's this ongoing communication with parents and guardians, and that we really make ourselves available to our students who need additional support. Doesn't mean we're providing additional instruction. It just means we're providing additional support for them. That could come in a lot of different forms. It may be the same group of kids over and over and over. There may be some students who never really need that additional support. And there may be a small group of kids who they're constantly coming to office hours. And that's okay. That's what that time is for. It's for the flexibility to meet the needs of our students outside the instructional day. All right. And so those are really the four things that we talked about today that were that were gone over, or been the big four interests that were coming from you all. If you haven't done so, please connect to the Google Sheet that we generated that's attached to the MOU language question submission form. So that spreadsheet we put together, as you submit your questions, we are going through and we are responding to all those questions as quickly as we can, providing you with solid, reasonable answers. If we don't know the answer, if we don't have a response, we're going to keep that response box empty until we do. And so, link back to that. Actually, I'll include a link to it in with this, the email that this document was attached to. I'm sorry, that this video was attached to, so that you can go straight to that Google Sheet and read all of the responses to all the variety of questions that folks have been submitting. All right, everybody. Hey, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Have a good weekend. I know Monday's coming. Monday's going to be crazy. I get it. But if we all do our part, we stay calm, we follow all of the safety guidelines, we adhere to whatever the rules are at our site as far as like traffic flow, entry and exit, that kind of stuff, then things should go relatively smoothly. So I'm really, really hoping for that. I'm going to visit a site or two on Monday as well. So I'm going to go through the health screenings. I want to be part of that process. I want to see what it's like to go through that, so that if I have questions, I know that you have questions. And so look for me. I might pop up at your site sometime on Monday. Oh, one last thing. We clarified this with Matt Beecher, that if you, when you report to your work site on your report days, you pass through the health screening, everything is fine, you enter campus, you're working for a while, and then your lunch period comes. If you want to exit campus to go get something to eat or sit in your car or do whatever you want to do, you don't have to re-engage the health screening process on the same day that you've already passed the morning health screening process. So that was a question folks had. Well, if I go to get lunch, or if I go, just take a drive and breathe for a few minutes, so I have to, go through the health screening process again when I return? The answer is no, you do not. It's one health screening per day per person. Okay, great. Thanks, everybody. Have a good weekend. Talk to you soon.